adjusting before I had the needle valve. I can now turn it up and down with the needle valve. Of course, though, the same issues apply as with the foundry. If I get a crosswind, if that quick release fitting is leaking propane, it'll actually ignite there and I have to hit the ball valve. Now, the other problem with this setup is there's not a lot of room inside the forge itself. Now, does it make for a decent small size forge? Absolutely. Is it usable? You betcha. Was it good for what I used it for? Yeah, and it got me into starting to blacksmith very well. I learned quite a bit from this forge. But here's one of the problems. Let me show you. Trying to get in there to put any piece of metal in or out, you're having to come from the side. You tend to burn yourself a little bit, and it's not a whole lot of fun. It can be very hard to deal with. Also, because the flame actually shoots out. Let's see if we can get in there. Can't really see it today. It's catching on fire right out there. So, you gotta be careful. I modified the system and added an extra piece for longer pieces. Let me put that into play and I'll give you a demonstration of that. This was the extender piece I eventually built. I've got the original forge in the back there. I put the plug from my foundry in the back, drilled a hole and everything else like that, and put the burner in the first one. The pieces that they're sitting on and being held by are actually off of a propane tank, which I built my next forge out of. I just kind of used those to help support while I was figuring out how to set up the new forge, which I will get to next video. But let me show you how this one goes. Still had the issue of the flame shooting out the front, but it was actually able to fit longer pieces in there and it would keep them relatively warm. At this distance you can't really see, the heat coming out the back of it there. When the two pieces are just butted up against each other and it's not even a perfect fit. But you can still get kind of in there sideways. Once you get used to working with it, it becomes okay. But it's not perfect by any means. I was actually able to make a sax out of a piece of rebar with this, and it came out fairly well. I was able to also do several small projects with it, and I enjoyed the way it worked. But I needed something that worked better. So, can you do it? Absolutely. Are there better ways of doing things? You betcha. You just got to kind of work around and figure out what works for you and what you have. Down the road, I wouldn't mind having a small setup like this inside of a shop. But being outdoors, it doesn't work too well because any drafts you have messes the flame around. Plus, it also affects the burner. And like I said, if you're not using the proper fittings, that can be a problem. What else? the trouble is with the flame coming out the front. I didn't enjoy that too much. If you're working with a longer piece, it's not too much of a problem. But if you're working with a small piece, it can be a very big problem if you don't have long tongs to get in there and pull it out. I did not. All I had was a regular pair of pliers. Of course, I usually wear gloves. That's just for demonstration purposes. But when you try and get in there with a pair of pliers like that, you're burning yourself and it's not too much fun. So, be advised. Now, as far as those little forges go, the soup can forges, I just kind of have a habit of doing things. Not necessarily always right, not necessarily always great. I just try stuff. Why? Because it's fun. Why not? You know, you gotta live a little. The thing is that I was actually able to learn quite a bit from getting those things going. Once I got them going, it was a lot of fun. I would enjoy days sitting out there just waiting for stuff to turn red to pull it out and hammer on it. Problem was is that it took a little bit longer than I would have liked to get it going red. Now, I'm using coal now. Since using coal, I've been able to produce a lot better materials, or a lot better projects, I should say. Now, that has something to do with time, perhaps? Yes. Now, I started out with the soup can forge. It was a great teacher. It taught me a lot. It taught me, well, how not to burn myself. I mean, it may sound silly, but I mean, I worked as a welder for a couple of years, and you learn not to burn yourself, but it's a little bit different when dealing with raw flame like that. And you're not using a torch. It's still a little different. Similar ideas nonetheless. Now, the thing is that you can use those systems to, or those soup can forges, to start out. It's a great idea. Learn your hammer strokes. Learn what to do. Or, perfect, better yet, if you're working on small stuff, jewelry making. It's great for that. Tinsmithing. Great for that too. Now, if you're trying to take a 1/4 inch piece of steel, you'll be able to work it. No problems. It may take a little bit to warm up, but once it gets warmed up, you're good to go. Now, if you're trying to work 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, or a railroad spike, you're going to be in for a while. I was actually able to take a big piece of rebar and actually hammer it out into a sax, a 17.5 inch sax, or Celtic style knife with a sloped tip. It took me a while to do it. It actually took a whole day just to hammer out that knife. One of the big problems was I was using a big piece of rebar. By the end of the day, I was completely sore and tired. Was it a learning experience? Absolutely. Would I trade it for the world? No. Why? Experience is experience. Learning is fun. I mean, yes, failing sucks. But if you don't take something away from a failure on what not to do next time, that's the biggest failure. So don't ever get down on yourself because you don't do something right. Anyway, this video is getting a little long, and I've gone a little off topic. The point is that if you're going to try them, try them. Be careful about the flames, and get used to the idea and working with materials. Till then, have fun, take it easy.